As Rangers fans, we know that a goaltender is the backbone of a hockey team. At Abundant Wealth Management, we are your financial backbone, offering financial planning, wealth management, tax planning, and estate planning services. To schedule your free consultation, head to www.abundant-wealth.com. That's www.abundant-wealth.com. Abundant Wealth Management. Live, plan, triumph.
You're listening to Rangers Radio, your home for end-to-end coverage of the New York Rangers. With your hosts, Brendan Azoff, Zach Domino, and Steve Pappas. Blue Shirts fans, the puck drops now.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Rangers Radio. We got Steven and myself here tonight in the last episode that we're going to do before the start of the 25-26 regular season. Rangers and Penguins face off on the 7th. I know I will be in attendance, and I'm looking forward to that. And I'm not expecting a ton of people to be watching tonight because we got a ton of things going on in the sports world on this Thursday. We got Thursday Night Football. We got playoff baseball on right now. Yankees on at 8. So hopefully the Yankees can find a way to come back from that 1-0 series deficit against the Sox. But this is a Rangers show. We're going to talk about all the things that are going on in the Rangers preseason. They do have a game tonight at 7 against the Devils, and there are two guys that I think all eyes are going to be on. But before we dive into all of that, how's everything going, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, you can't really see it. There's like a TV screen right here. It's got the Cubs and Padres game on. The Yankee game will be on. I obviously not a Yankee fan, so don't care what happens in that game. But it's crazy that we've sat here for, it seems like we've been doing these shows for 6 months now, but it's really only been one. Not even. We started like mid-September, and we're already talking about the start of the season coming up. It is less than a week away. This time next week, they'll be in Buffalo. You'll be at the Pittsburgh game. I'll be at the Buffalo game. So
yep.
We'll have it very much covered the start of this season. But, this preseason has been a little strange, I think. Like, they went almost like a full week without a game, right? Like, they went from like Thursday to Thursday without a game.
A random 5-day break in the middle of it.
Yeah, it made absolutely no sense. Back tonight after, again, can't remember where they played on Tuesday. They played Tuesday against the Islanders, or Monday. They played Monday.
Yeah, I think they played Monday against the Islanders. Then they have the game tonight. They play again on Saturday, the 4th, and that's it. Then it's all hands on deck for the regular season. So
I mean, what a weird schedule for the preseason to not just be playing like basically every other day. Why is it not every other day? But we got some guys to talk about. I mean, yeah, there's some guys that are still fighting for spots. There are guys that have been cut that we need to be getting into because oh boy. But just the fact that we're looking at NHL hockey in the next week is fantastic.
It's awesome to see. And for those of you that don't know, next year it'll be an 84 game regular season for the NHL, and the preseason will be shortened. So we will have at this time next year have already be in the regular season of the NHL, which is cool to think about. I don't know how, when you have other leagues like the NBA that play 82 games that are trying to do load management and take away games, and the NHL, which has all this physicality, is extending their season, how that's going to work. And hopefully all the players stay healthy, but we'll see how that shapes out next year. But for now, we're talking about this year, and there is a preseason game tonight. The Rangers have cut their training camp roster down to 29 players. So realistically, we're looking around 6 or 7 more cuts coming in the next 5 days. And of those 29 players, there are 2 notable names that stand out, and those are Noah Laba and Gabe Perreault. Those 2 guys have had an outstanding preseason, but the one guy that's not there and not part of that 29 is Brennan Othmann, and that's kind of where I want to start, because the last time I did a show with you guys was 2 weeks ago. I had a miss last week, and we were sitting here talking about the first preseason game. How did Brennan Othmann look? He didn't really stand out, and now we fast forward just 2 shows later, and he is among the cuts. Didn't even make it to the end of training camp in his 5th year out of the NHL draft. And you see some things from Mike Sullivan saying if he's not going to play a certain role with us at the NHL, I'd rather him go down and get those reps in. And we understand that. But this is a guy that was a first round pick for the Rangers. He was somebody that was built up as a guy that, should be that gritty type of forward. He could play 2 ways. I haven't really seen that so far. He's turned into more of a power play specialist at the AHL Hartford Wolfpack. And now he's missing the cut right away. Like, he's not even one of the last cuts on the roster, not even pushing for that spot like you do see right now with Berard, Gabe Perreault, and Noah Laba.
Yeah, it's shocking, to say the least. Like, this is a guy that we've had so much hope and we've seen the ability that he's had when he's gotten his opportunity, maybe snake bitten, but at least sort of around. And then we've seen what he's gotten in the AHL. He's been a really good power play specialist. He's got this wicked shot. I mean, you saw it. You saw it in the Islander game that they lost at home. That shot that he has on that power play goal, like, it's there. It's just what it sounds like from Mike Sullivan. It's the intangibles are not there. And, this feels like a guy who is trying to, what's that quote from Miracle? You guys don't have enough talent to win on talent alone. And I feel like that's what this is happening with Brennan Othmann. Like, he's a guy that was always the best player at every level that he played growing up. And now I think the Rangers are trying to get him to play a certain role. He is clearly not playing that role, not wanting to, I don't want to say not wanting to, but is not able at this moment to play that role. And it has cost him a roster spot because he's going to start in Hartford. Lord knows how long he's going to stay in Hartford, because it's, he's going to need to show a lot, because he showed a decent amount last year, came up and was sort of a dud. So, or you're trading him, or you're trading Brennan Othmann, and that's most likely the next option. But again, value's really low. I know, Zook has sort of harped on the fact that you could have traded Brennan Othmann and Capo Caco 2 years ago for Jake Gensel. Instead, you hold on to both of them. They both fizzle out, and all of a sudden you are most likely you traded Caco, and you're most likely going to trade Brennan Othmann at his lowest value. So, not great asset management from the Rangers' point of view, but it's sad, man. Like, it's sad to see a guy that was such a highly touted prospect in this organization just kind of fall on his face like that.
Yeah, and I do want to extend an olive branch to him because, to me, it all circles back to, like you said, asset management, right? And when we think of asset management when it comes to the GMs and the NHL, we think about the trade pieces, how much value you're getting for your prospects that you're not going to play. But another part of that is how you handle them when they're in your organization. And if you look at Capo Caco, you look at Alexei Lafreniere, you look at the Kratzovs, Elias Andersons, there's a history now of these guys playing one role in Hartford, coming up, being asked to play a different role as soon as they're in training camp, not being equipped for that role, and then getting sent back down and playing back in the old role that they were playing in the AHL before. And I know Johnny Lazarus, who's been on the show before, he put out a tweet on X talking about this and talking about how if somebody's going to be playing the third line at the NHL level, sending them down to play on the first line in Hartford is not necessarily helping their development, because it's situating them in a role that they're not going to be playing. And I feel like for Brennan Othmann, power play time in Hartford, first line minutes in Hartford, all these things that are asked of an elite scoring forward. And then when you look at his talent level at the NHL level, he doesn't come close to that elite level forward that you're going to want to have playing with the Panarins and the Zibanejads, Millers of the world. So his role is more going to be a middle six forward, and that's where he has to be. So if you think he has enough talent to make the roster as a middle six forward, I don't agree with sending him down. And then the next question is, if you don't think he has enough talent to make the roster as a middle six forward, well, now we have to have a very different discussion. And unfortunately, it seems like that's the direction that they're heading in. And to me, I know I told you guys to mention on the show, and I'm not sure if you did last week, that they should have traded him 3 years ago. If you don't trade him 3 years ago, which they didn't, and now you're sitting here with this predicament, you can't trade him now. What are you going to get, a 6th-round pick for him? Nobody's going to really offer you anything of value because they see where he's at in your own system. So you got to almost hope that something happens. It works itself out in November. He can get called up into the role that you envision for him, and that he kind of takes that step. But it definitely a disappointing camp. And after that first game against the Flyers in the rookie showcase, I was like, okay, maybe he could do something. But I did say on this show that I don't care anything about the goals that he scored in that rookie showcase. He's got to show it in the preseason against NHL caliber talent, and he did not.
No, he did not. I mean, that's I guess the point that we're all trying to make is, like, what's his role? I mean, obviously it's hard to envision him in a top 6 role with this team. Outside, I mean, listen, you're fighting for that spot. That's what that's what I feel like that spot was open for, was for that competition between Perreault and Cooley and Othmann and Clearly he did not win that role. So I guess the question is, are you sending him down to learn a third line role, or what? Like, what is next for Brennan Othmann outside of trading him, right? Like, what's the use of him in your organization? There is none. It's not like really he plays that third line role better than even than a Noah Laba at this point. Like, this organization's got like four. I mean, I know they don't play the same position, but these guys got like 4 or 5 different guys ahead of Brennan Othmann that play that third line role better than he does. So, and apparently there's 3 to 4 guys that play that top 6 role better than he does. So what is it? I mean, what's next for Brennan Othmann? Is it trade? Is it career minor leaguer? Whatever it is, it's going to be disappointing, but it feels like every year we talk about some prospect that doesn't pan out in this organization, and it's getting old.
Yeah, definitely. And you said what's next, and what's next for Gabe Perreault and Noah Laba is also up in the air, but we're going to find that out a lot sooner than we're going to find out what's next for Brennan Othmann. And before we talk about how good both of them have been in the preseason so far, I do want to ask you about, some of the things that I see people talking about on X and on different social media platforms, which is, where do you stand on waiving or cutting a veteran player in favor of one of these two guys when those guys that are veterans are likely to be claimed, whereas Laba and Perreault have options to go to the AHL? And if something happens or somebody's not working out, 5-7 games in, you could just as easily call those up and waive those guys then. And this is a tricky situation because in my mind, Connor Sheary in the games that I've seen him play has actually looked good. He's got familiarity with Sullivan and Sullivan systems. I don't really want them to waive him out of his PTO. Then you look at a guy like Brodzinski, and Brodzinski might not be the everyday forward, but he's also somebody that every time he gets called upon does his job and does it pretty well. And it doesn't matter if he's in the bottom 6 or the top 6. So that's another guy that I'm like, how do you waive him? Parsonen is just as young as Noah Laba and some of these other guys, and I think people tend to forget that too. He's 23. So Noah Laba is 22, and then you're sitting here and you're like, oh, Noah Laba is a rookie. You got to give him a shot. But Parsonen hasn't had solid footing and a shot yet either. So it's an interesting dynamic that's kind of developed as we end up in the final 5 days of training camp. And yeah, I mean, if you ask me right now who I'd rather see in the lineup, I'd rather see Perreault and Laba playing every day and seeing what we can get out of them. But there is some merit to the argument of maybe we give them a little bit of a runway in Hartford and let the veterans figure it out. And if they don't look good, we could always call these guys back up.
I mean, I've said it plenty of times already in the last 3 weeks that no matter what is done here, I believe that they need to start in Hartford. Some people will disagree with me, and I know that. But to your point, like it's more flexible for them to go up and down than it is the Connor Sherry's Yusuf Parson is not getting sent down, but those guys, it's easier for them to be sent down than those guys just based on the waiver exemptions. So, I am still a believer that those two need to start in the American Hockey League. I am like very surprised with Noah Laba. In a good way, he's been, from a guy that you rarely heard of at the end of last year and, just in the prospect pool in general to, being a guy that is, basically coveted now in this organization to come up and play and be, I know I've got friends that are texting me during the game saying he's like the truth. I think they were calling him the truth. And I'm like, like 4 weeks ago, you had no idea who this kid was. And now all of a sudden he's the savior. I guess that just shows how bad, this organization's prospect development has been. So, but Gabe Perreault, no, I mean, Gabe Perreault, I said it. I think I said it last week when you weren't here that, he feels like a guy that is going to be a very good NHL player, but he also needs to learn the pro game. And it's hard to learn the pro game while you're also, a smaller guy getting beat to shit by NHL players. If he can learn the game at a level where he can also play his game and score goals and be the better player than the guy across from him, I think then it bodes some confidence. And when you do call him up, he's learned how to play this pro game as well as understood he's able to score at this level, right? So AHL for the two of them to start, I think. I mean, even like 2 weeks into the season, you could see him get called up. I don't think they're going to be in Hartford for very long, but I do believe Hartford is where they begin.
Yeah, if you look at the first couple of games of the Rangers schedule, it's not teams that you would think they need these guys to be really playing well to beat, right? You got Pittsburgh, you got Buffalo, you got a couple of games against those two opponents. Then you start to get into some stiffer competition, but there's a runway there where if the Shiri isn't panning out, right? If, Brodzinski isn't helping, if Radish has a couple of tough games and you want to give him a scratch, like you have the availability at that point to call these guys up. And you mentioned nobody knew who Noah Laba was. There's prospect reports where he's not even in the Rangers' top 10 prospects. And I know that Rangers center is the weakest position in their prospect pool, and he hasn't even cracked like the top 2 centers on that prospect list. And yet here he is, the last week of camp. And honestly, he's been their most notable player so far in camp. He had probably his toughest game against the Islanders where he scored the OT winner. He was playing pretty much the full Islanders regular lineup. Right. I think outside of Anders Lee was the only guy that wasn't suited up for them. And you could tell there were times where he was a little bit outmatched in the defensive end, and that's to be expected. He's his first year really taste of pro hockey. But yet, even despite that, he gets the nod from Sullivan to go out there in 3-on-3 in overtime, and that nifty feed from Gabe Perreault. And next thing you know, he's burying at a great backhand move. And that's what you want to see, right? Even in the games where he might be a little bit outmatched, he still finds a way to get on the score sheet, make an impact. And that's notable, right? That's going to stick out in a coach's mind. So those two guys combining for that OT winner against the Islander regulars was definitely something that it's really hard to put them down to Hartford if they keep doing that over the last 2 games.
Did you see who he beat?
Oh, I saw
who Noah Laba beat with speed and body.
Schaefer's gap was a little bit shaded to the middle. He was watching the puck a little too much there, but I'm not going to knock Schaefer because that whole entire game he was.
It's funny. It's just funny at this point that now all of a sudden we went from everybody sort of dogged the Rangers #1 overall pick, and rightly so, right? Like Lafreniere has not been great. All the Islander fans and the Devil fans. Now the Islanders have that #1 guy, and every little mistake might be scrutinized a little bit by the other fans. Now it's our turn, considering our guys suck.
That's why it's such a hard place to be drafted, man. Because even in the game where I thought he was pretty electric with the puck, and I texted Stefan, who covers the Islanders, he was on the show 2 weeks ago, and I said, man, if Schaefer can find a way to clean up some of the gaps and to get his shots through from the point, he's going to be a problem for a long time. And you look at what he's going to be on the Islanders, right, for the foreseeable future. You got Luke Hughes, who just got a massive contract.
Bro, can we talk about that or no?
I wanted to talk about it. That's why I kind of mentioned it. Now, is it good that they locked him up? Yeah, $9 million. I mean, what is he making? $500K less than Adam Fox.
$9 million is crazy for Luke Hughes. And we're okay with. I guess doesn't matter what we think.
Well, did you see what Anaheim just gave
Jackson Lacombe,
their rookie defense, Jackson Lacombe?
I did not.
8 years, $9 million.
Listen, I think I was hearing from listening to the 32 Thoughts podcast, and it's like they're basically waiting for this dam to break on what these contracts are going to look like now with the cap exploding, and it feels like that Luke Hughes deal was the one because who's the other kid in Anaheim that just signed? Not Lacombe.
Did they sign McTavish yet?
They signed McTavish. Okay. It was 6x7, which is normal, right? That's fine.
That one makes sense to me.
That one makes sense, but apparently now it's listen, if you're McTavish, you're going back to your agent and you're like, what the hell? What the hell did you guys do? Everybody's getting $9 million now. How did I get gypped out of the $2 million?
And listen, I get that there's a price to be paid to get a couple of their UFA years locked up already, right? And that's kind of what the premium's for when it comes to Lacombe, when it comes to Hughes. But it's just really hard for me to justify that money. And I'm not sitting here saying, if there's any Devils fans listening, that he's not going to be worth that in 2 to 3 years, right? He could very well turn into that player. But he was banged up his first year, right? He's cut from that cloth of very offensive-minded defenseman. Do we know for sure that he's going to be a steady, reliable in his own defensive zone? There's still too many areas that are up in the air at this stage of his career to give him 7x9. Like, that just seems like an excessive tag. But like you said, the cap's going up.
It's percentage of the cap now. That's all it is. I mean,
yeah, we had people that were pissed at 11.5 for Igor because you can't give that to a goalie. But what's that percentage of the cap going to actually be like in 2-3 years? So it's all relative to the situation that we're in. And right now we're in a rising cap environment. I don't know if you saw the Sportico graph where a graphic with the NHL's
I was hard to
78%.
follow.
I didn't get it either, but I
I
think
just saw
it's
Kevin Weeks
viewership.
tweet it out, and there was no like title on the graph. It just said
No.
NHL plus like 103%. I was like, what?
Over a 3-year
Views?
window. I guess it's viewership. That's
It's
the only
gotta
thing
be.
I could think of. But if viewership keeps going up, if attendance stays the same, Gary Bettman's looking to, if he has it his way, there will be 50 teams in this league by 2032. So I can't see the cap slowing down at this point. And the beauty of it all is that they pretty much agreed to a new CBA. So we're not going to have that whole experience of a lockout, which seems to be a commonplace with the NHL. So things got to keep progressing. And if Luke Hughes is getting 7 by 9,
he's the highest paid
want to
Hughes
know.
brother.
He is, and I do not want to know what Connor McDavid's going to get.
It depends on where he goes. If it just keeps sounding like if he resigns in Edmonton, that's not going to be like overly absurd. Like
it's going to be a short-term deal.
We'll see. I mean, Kaprizov's out the door, so the Rangers got one fewer option this summer to go after, which honestly, like, I'm fine with. I did not like
There's
Kaprizov.
So many players. You have McDavid, you have Eichel, you have Adrian Kempe. Like, there are tons of guys that are going to be free agents at the end of the season.
That's a guy I would love to see with the Rangers next year. Adrian Kempe.
Absolutely.
And it's
but the problem with that
is in LA.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that you also wind up blocking.
I get it. No, I get
right?
that.
It's a very
you can block a
situation.
prospect or have a team that competes for a Stanley Cup. It's whatever. What's the
you and I are on the same page when it comes to that, but there are a lot of prospect huggers amongst the NHL fan bases, and I've said it since I was old enough to really have an opinion on it. Where prospects and having a great prospect pool is really nice on paper, but you have to hit, and you have to hit well on multiple of those. And every single Stanley Cup champion has one or two guys that they have hit on. But the rest are, a group of established players, some that are homegrown, some that have come from other places. And the reality of the situation is that it's very rare that you see a team that's fully built on in-house talent and homegrown talent. And the Rangers are in a situation they could sign pretty much any free agent they want. Like, having a good prospect here and there that winds up playing in the everyday NHL roster is great, but they have the ability to go out and add free agents.
If you trot out a center core in 2026, 27 of Miller, Kempe, Trocheck, that's a very good. That's a very deep center position. And who knows what's going to happen with Panarin. The more I hear about it, the less and less likely it sounds like he's going to resign unless something happens. But that's a center group that can win you a Stanley Cup. Adrian Kempe, outside, if he played in Boston or New York or Toronto or Ottawa, like, he would be a household name. That dude is a baller. So I mean, we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but I mean, we haven't even started this season yet. We're still 5 days away from this season starting. So we're already. Oh, listen, you poached one king last year, so why not do it again?
Exactly. And now we have an interesting situation with the game tonight because there's only 29 guys left in camp. It's almost like we're going to be seeing a boatload of regulars. JT Miller skated on his own today, still is listed as day-to-day and has not practiced with the Rangers since his scary-looking injury that he had. I know we all kind of saw it on the VHS recordings that were put out by beat writers, but didn't look pretty, kind of non-contact, but it sounds like he avoided any major injury there, which is good. So hopefully he could be ready for Tuesday and opening night. But Artemi Panarin has also been out day-to-day. He's been skating and practicing with the team again, and nothing's come out so far with what the lineup will be tonight. But if it is regulars and Artemi Panarin was rumored that he's going to be playing tonight, maybe that's something that we'll get our first look at Artemi Panarin in the preseason.
We should know within the next 6 minutes or so. Usually warm-ups start, half hour before, so we should have some sort of idea of what the lineup looks like. No, that Miller injury in practice, I mean, you saw it and you immediately were like, non-contact injury. Holy shit, it's so far over, but it doesn't sound too serious. Panarin, we haven't seen any of Artemi Panarin, and
this is kind of his MO though. He goes,
it's like football. It's like watching NFL training camp. It's like he just doesn't play preseason games and then just turns it on. I mean, which is fine if you do it. If you score, 40 goals and 100 points, that's fine. But you better do that if you're missing all the preseason for whatever. I mean, I don't know what it is, but I think, now's the time where you get 2 games left. You're going to see the guys. You're going to see the lines they're going to play together. You're going to see the NHL caliber guys. So come next Tuesday, 5 days from now, it's going to be real. So you got to get some sort of, most of this team is the same as it was last year. So it's not like you're completely playing with new guys, other than hopefully Fox and Gavrikov. That will be, the big new pairing.
Well,
but
that's something that I know, our co-host Zook wanted to talk about. He can't be here tonight, but the pairings that came out of practice today, a little bit alarming. I take it with a grain of salt because there's a game tonight and you don't know what he's trying to work on for tonight's contest in and of itself. But Fox with Vakanainen, you got, Gavrikov is playing with Schneider, and I'm not going to say word for word what Zook said, but he won't be too happy if
I was gonna say it, so I'm glad you said you weren't.
I'm not gonna. Yeah, I don't want to touch on it, but if you want to let it rip, go for it.
No, he wouldn't be very happy. He would not be very happy if Schneider and Gavrikov are playing together. Let's just put it that way.
I think that's the most show appropriate way we could say it. But yeah, I don't think that that's actually going to happen, girls. What was the reason of going out and getting Gavrikov if your whole plan was not to play him alongside Adam Fox? Doesn't really make much sense to me, especially if his substitute is going to be Urho Vakanainen, and that's ludicrous. So I'm not reading too far into that, but there is a game tonight. Game starts in just over 30 minutes. The Rangers host the Devils, 5th preseason game. They're 2-1-1 so far this preseason. Couple of good games so far, too. We saw an overtime win against the Islanders, overtime loss against the Bruins. It's been entertaining if you're actually watching it and following along. I know that I'm going to be glimpsing at this one tonight, especially once the Yankees game gets underway. But regulars look like they're going to be playing for the Devils, so it's going to be the second game in a row that the Labas, the Berards, the Perreaults are going to have true tests of NHL caliber competition. So if you're one of those guys that is not a Yankees fan, doesn't really enjoy football, and wants to watch some of this game tonight, I know Steven will be watching. Well, guess what? You're going to get another glimpse at whether these guys truly are going to be pushing till that last minute to make the NHL roster, if this story is really good, but they're going to ultimately get sent down. Because I still think that there is a chance that if Noah Labase has 2 phenomenal games to end this preseason, I still think there's an outside chance that Sullivan might be looking at it going, I have to keep him. If a guy's playing that well so far, it's really hard to say, you know what, buddy, you did everything that we wanted you to do, but we're going to send you down because we want to play, Parsonen.
I think, well, yeah. I mean, listen, you want to talk about a guy that's like kind of low key, not had a bad preseason. Like you saw Parsonen, for as much as we've dogged on him,
hasn't. Yeah,
it's like it's been a good preseason for Juuso Parsonen. For some reason, like I get why I get the hate that Zook got from him, from last year playing, but who wasn't in a miserable state of mind during last year's season? So, Parsonen, I think that's the thing is like, life's not fair, and I don't mean this in a bad way. But if you're Mike Sullivan, you sit there and say, Noah, you did everything that we asked you to do. It was one of the best preseasons that anybody in the organization had. We really appreciate, what you've done, but for reasons outside of our control, and maybe it's just easier to, you guys have waiver exemptions. That's really all. I feel like all this is going to come down to is like, if we're going to send these guys down, then they're going to have to clear waivers. And it's, a lot simpler if we just send the 2 rookies down and they don't need to clear waivers. That's what it's going to come down to.
Great test of mental fortitude, though, because the players that you really want and that are going to be around long-term are the players that'll hear that message and just continue what they've been doing in this preseason at the AHL level. And kind of at that point, you're looking at the management of the big club and saying, I'm doing it still. And it's been consistent. And now we're talking about a month or 2 months of consistent hockey at a good level. Like, let me get my shot. And, these things work themselves out. Injuries happen. Players start to slump or struggle, especially players that are kind of fringe NHLers that are just on those veteran deals that can't get waived. And all of a sudden they do get waived and it opens up the door for somebody else. So if he goes down to the AHL, gets cut from the training camp roster and really starts to struggle at the AHL level, well, now you're kind of showing upper management that they made the right call and that you still have a little bit of ways to go. So to me, there's almost a added bonus if Laba and Perreault start in the AHL because of that reason. Like you're saying, listen, you guys are really, really close, but we want to make sure that you could do this consistently in a professional setting. And if they do, the door is going to be open for them both, I think, probably by November.
Yeah, I mean, I would be very shocked if one, if not both of them, are up by November. They just had their first preseason game. The Hartford Wolfpack did. It was close to the public, which I've never seen a professional sports team do before. They lost to the Islanders 6-3. I know they play them tomorrow, and then their season starts the 11th, I believe. Yeah, Saturday the 11th. So, they get about a week off between the NHL start to the season, somewhere around that time, a week off between that and the start of the AHL season. So, I don't know, man. Like I feel like we've really wrung this towel out.
We have.
I mean, every episode, there's not much more I can say about Gabe Perreault or Noah Laba or Brennan Othman or Brett Berard. That's what the entire preseason has been. So I am so much looking forward to getting actual games to watch and care about and be able to talk about without it being, well, we don't care about the final score because we're more worried about what's going on with X, Y, and Z player. No, screw that. Let's see who wins. I want to watch games that the wins and losses matter, and we're almost there.
All right. So you pretty much said everything, right? We've kind of wrung this out. We have 30 minutes till the 5th preseason game. And then by the time we come on next week, I think that'll probably be Wednesday, I'm hoping, because you're going to be at the game Thursday. Yeah, I'm going to be doing something else Thursday. So
I'll be in Buffalo Wednesday night. So I'll just do it from my hotel.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully next Wednesday, we'll be able to talk about the opening night game Tuesday. But before we, say goodbye to the preseason and this episode, your thoughts on Scott Morrow? It seems like everything that comes out of Sullivan's mouth is praise for him. Everybody is talking about how he moves the puck well, does all the things that they want to see. Yet it does look like he's going to be on the outside looking in when it comes to the top 6 defensemen. And opening night, I can understand you wanting to give the nod to the veteran, right? Veteran guys. Opening night against Pittsburgh, it's not a high class opponent. You should be able to handle them. But if you have a right-handed defenseman, especially in a scenario where Braden Schneider is willing and able to move to the left side, that could move the puck from your third pair, in addition to having Adam Fox on the first pair who can move the puck, I don't know how you do not play him. And then I look even further and I look at the power play too. Who's quarterbacking the second power play? Like, if it's not Scott Morrow, who's doing it? Are you going to roll 5 forwards on your second power play unit? That doesn't really make much sense. Are you going to have Braden Schneider quarterback it? You're going to have Gavrikov quarterback it? Like, who else from the defensive corps is qualified to really quarterback a power play if you don't play Scott Morrow? So to me, that's his value is kind of right in front of everybody's eyes in terms of what he could bring to this roster this year. And it might not happen game 1, but I do not know how throughout the course of the season he's not a regular, after a couple of games.
Yeah, I mean, what was really interesting is seeing the power play lines from practice today, and he's at the top pairing that top unit with Mika, Trocheck, Panarin, and Loff. Obviously, that is Adam Fox's role. Yeah. That is not going to be Scott Morrow's role, but you are right. Like, of the D-core, you don't have a Keandre Miller anymore. You don't have even Zach Jones anymore that has that offensive mind on the everyday defenseman that can run a power play. So it's going to be very interesting. I mean, Schneider was out there with the second power play unit today. Is that what it's going to be like come the first game of the year? I sure hope not. But I mean, if you're going 5 guys, 5 forwards, who are those 5 forwards? Is it, Rempe? I am a huge fan of Rempe being on that second power play. And I've seen, clips of just him standing in front of the net. I know I forgot which goal it was, but, he's caused some goals for on the power play. Not, no assists, no goals, but just by being 6'9" and standing in front of the goaltender, they can't see him. They can't see through him. So
Doug Glad special.
I'm very surprised that hockey. I mean, I get everybody is not 6'9", 255 pounds that Matt Rempe is, But I guess I don't know, if you got a struggling power play, throw a guy out there that is a legitimate wall, and see if you can just try and get pucks through, and nobody, hopefully the goalie can't see it. So I'm a huge fan of Rempe on the second power play unit. I feel like Scott Morrow's the guy that when he does get his chance to play at the National Hockey League level, he's going to be on that second power play unit.
Yeah, I would think. And if you go 5 forwards and you don't have, Gabe Perreault playing at the NHL level, you don't have Brennan Othman, your 5 forwards are really not built for that role either, right? I mean, right now it looks like Trocheck's going to be centering the second unit if they really are adamant about putting Loff on the first power play. So you have Trocheck centering, you have Will Cooley there. You'll probably have, some combination of Parsonen with maybe Connor Sheary, and then it's really a crapshoot after that. So you could go with those 4 forwards and then put Rempe in front, but then who's the defensively responsible forward that's going to quarterback the top, right? It's not an easy position. I've played defense, my whole life growing up. If you're the last man up on the top of that power play and you are not comfortable in that position and one shot gets blocked, you got to get back, right? There's nobody behind you. So that is not something you just want to throw a forward into blindly unless they change up the structure and they have 2 guys high. But you wind up creating more headache than it's worth if you don't have Scott Morrow in your lineup quarterbacking that second unit. So we'll see what winds up happening.
The Rangers just don't have the skill, even offensively, to run a 5-man power play unit. Like, you're not the Leafs. You don't have you're not
unless you're going to put Trocheck instead of Fox on the first power play. Those are the 5 forwards that can do it.
If you're running a 5-forward power play unit, it's not your second pair. Like, it's not your second unit. Like, it is the top unit, and the Rangers don't need to do that.
Yeah, they don't need to, and they can't. Plain and simple.
Correct.
The only way you can not worry about it is if you plan on having that first unit play 2 minutes every time there's a power play, which they've done in the past.
I was gonna say
they've done in the past.
They've done a lot of that.
The other thing is, right, you look at the gas tank situation, especially early in the season, and you could swap out, Trocheck for Loff. You could swap out a couple of guys, on the fly as opposed to changing the full unit and try to keep some guys out there like Panarin. I'm sure if you tell him play 2 minutes on the power play, he's going to do it.
Yeah, well, he's not skating very hard anyway.
That's exactly right. So the premium positions that are skating, get at the puck when it gets dumped down, you can swap them out. But we'll see what happens on the 7th. I will be there. I'm looking forward to it. You'll be in Buffalo Thursday. So, Rangers radio is going to be represented at the games, the first 2 games at least. And hopefully it's 2 dubs right out of the gate. We can kind of shake off last season.
I'm very excited this year. The start of this year is going to be nuts. So I'll be in Buffalo. If anybody's going to be in Buffalo, hit me up. Let me know. In Buffalo on Thursday, so a week from today. In Toronto the week after, which is another Thursday game. So if you're in Toronto for the game, hit me up. Let me know. And then the Thursday after that is actually my birthday, and they play the Sharks at MSG, and I will be most likely at that game. So 3 Thursdays in a row to start the year watching the Rangers. It's actually really funny. So I got a this is getting a little off topic, but I have a tattoo of Madison Square Garden that I got after the 2020, after the conference final run, the most recent one. And I have not been to Madison Square Garden since I've gotten a tattoo. Like, I didn't go to a single game at MSG last year. I was joking with one of my friends. I was like, I feel like a fraud that I have this and just haven't stepped in the building yet.
Well, you don't need to go anymore if you have it.
I guess so. I mean, it's just always on me, but no, I need to step back into that building. I miss that building, and I cannot wait to go to that game, even though, it is the Sharks. I'm more excited for the Leafs game, to be honest with you. Like, I have not been to a game in Toronto.
That's gonna be a fun one.
I was obviously at Four Nations last year in Montreal. Toronto looks sick just to go to a game there. And I know they play Ottawa on a Thursday in December. So might be able to get a clean sweep of all those Eastern Canadian arenas, even though Ottawa's kind of
I'm going to have to do a Canada tour soon, man, because I really want to get out west. I want to go to Vancouver.
Oh, my God. Dude,
that's on the bucket list.
Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver. I mean, I just, it's weird. It's weird how much how attracted I am to like Winnipeg and Edmonton and Calgary for some reason, and then obviously,
me too.
And then obviously there's Vancouver. Yeah, like I feel like I should not be as pulled to those cities as I should be, especially like a December in Winnipeg. It can't be. I cannot be doing that.
That whole thing where people are like, "Oh, if you got drafted by this team, would you go play for them?" And Winnipeg. I can understand how people say no, I don't want to go there. Edmonton and Calgary, Vancouver, those have never even come close to my list.
Yeah.
So,
Also, like, hey,
I
an
love it.
NHL team wants you on your team. Are you really going to say no because it's a shitty winter?
That's the other side. That's the realistic approach. When it's a hypothetical, you can kind of be picky. But no, if I got drafted any round and they go, oh, you got drafted by Winnipeg, awesome, cool,
sure,
let's do it. Yeah.
I was gonna say, shit.
I don't care.
I living in Rochester, I feel like I live in Winnipeg sometimes, just with how much
it's pretty close
snow and wind we get. It's insane,
All
and
right.
I can't wait. It's October 2nd. By a month from now, we're gonna have snow, and I'm gonna be so pissed.
You're gonna have snow, and I'm sure we're gonna have some episodes where we're just ripping into this team because that's the ups and downs of being a New York Rangers fan and having to come on and talk about it. If we have a downside next episode, we have some issues. I'm not going to be a happy guy. All right.
We'll see.
Any final thoughts you got before we close out here?
No, I cannot wait for regular season hockey to start. 5 days away. Countdown begins. Dan Girardi days away. Let's do it.
Dan Girardi days away. We got Rangers Devils in about 20 minutes tonight. Boston Rangers on Saturday, and then the preseason's wrapped up. And next Tuesday, 8 p.m. on ESPN. If you're not going to be in attendance, if you are, let us know. We'll grab a beer, and we will have some fun Tuesday night. Rangers Penguins season's open, and we will be live hopefully Wednesday to cover that game. So we will see you all next week.
See you, boys.